Early Americans and Colonies. Literature as Signature. Teacher Ángela Andrea Romero. Universidad San Buenaventura, sede Bogotá. Academic Program, licenciatura en lengua inglesa. Southern Colonies in the United States of America. History and Literature Facts. A presentation by John Aver Garcia and Carlos Eduardo Montilla. 8th semester. Economy. The Southern Colonies. The Southern Colonies include the states of Maryland, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and Georgia. Its economy were mainly agricultural in nature, based on the production of staple crops produced in large quantities for sale to England. These included tobacco in Virginia and Maryland, rice and indigo in South Carolina, and naval stores such as pine tar, turpentine, and lumber in North Carolina. These colonies, the Southern Colonies, concentrated on agriculture and developed the plantations exporting tobacco, cotton, corn, vegetables, grain, fruits, and livestock. The Southern Colony had the largest slave population who worked on the slave plantations. Social division. In terms of social division, Southern colonies show some main characteristics. One, these colonies were wealthy and prosperous due to the kind of economy was running around, was growing up, and the kind of economic system Southern colonies implant, the plantation, and the use of a lot of slaves that they worked very hard in order to produce the different products already mentioned before. Characteristic number two, the social organization differs from the northern colonies. In these particular southern colonies, the social organization was established under the concept of a plantation owner and slaves. Characteristic number three, busy social lives. They were actually pretty busy. Not only the owners of the plantations were busy, but also the slaves who worked very hard during the whole seasons because the products that they produce were growing up in different months of the year. And a final characteristic, number four, the division was based on plantations owner and slaves, as we already mentioned in the social organization. Actually, the pre-revolutionary Southern literature was aristocratic and secular, reflecting the dominant social and economic systems of the Southern plantations. Although many Southerns were poor farmers or tradespeople living not much better than slaves, the Southern literature upper class was shaped by the classical old-world ideal of a noble blended. In simple words, here the manifestation of the literature was only identifiable in the plantation owners area. Slaves, they were a model, a role model for the different authors that they actually took them as models to begin to write down different literature productions such as poems, songs, rhythms, and others. Religion. The religion in the colonies, the southern colonies, encompasses the religious practices of many denominations. The religion in the colonies include Protestant, Puritan, Catholic, Anglican, Episcopalian, Congregationalist, and Baptist, as well as some of them Puritans. All of them were Christian religions based on the Old Testament and the teaching of Jesus. As characteristics of this particular Southern colonies religion, we can say that in general, the plantation Southern permit a good deal of religious freedom. In these colonies, different from the North colonies, people were free to decide the kind of religion they want to practice. Let's remember that in the North, Puritans, they had the whole control of religion there. The second characteristic, the cash crops, did not leave time for strict religious practices. This is another important characteristic because in the North, they had a lot of time to practice the religions. For them, religion was a priority. But here in the Southern, they had no time for strict religious practices. Characteristic number 3, people mainly came to the region not for religious freedom, but to turn over a quick profit. That was the main objective. When people from the north passed to the southern, they just were looking for a better quick profit rather than having a religious freedom. Finally, another characteristic, the Maryland formed in the region on the basis of religion's freedom for Catholics, but tobacco still drove the economy. Here, something that it's important to highlight is that they dedicate a lot of time to have different kind of products in the plantations, and one of the main products was the tobacco, something that was against the religious principles. But as we have already mentioned, the main objective for immigrants was the quick profit.
The literature produced in the southern colonies was for the most part descriptive and factual, concerning in some fashions with the land itself. Southern literature were aristocratic and secular, reflecting the dominant social and economic system for the southern plantation. Early English immigration were drawn to the southern colonies because of economic opportunity rather than religious freedom. The southern literature upper class was shaped by the Classica. Southern Colonies authors: William Byrd, 1674–1744. William Byrd described a gracious way of life at his plantation, whatsoever in his famous letter of 1726 to his English friend Charles Boyle. William Byrd epitomized the spirit of the southern colonies, gentry, the heir to 1,040 hectares, which it enlarged to 7,160 hectares. He was a merchant, trader, and planter. His library of 3,600 books was the largest in the South. Byrd is best known today for his lively history of the dividing line, a deity of 7029 trips of some weeks and 960 kilometers into the interior to survive the line dividing the neighboring colonies of Virginia and North Carolina. Second author, Robert Beverly, 1673–1722. Humorous satire, a literary work in which human bias of falling is attacked, through irony, distortion, or wit, appears frequently in a colonial South. In general, the colonial South may fairly be liked with a line, worldly, informative, and realistic literary tradition. Imitative of English literary fashion, the Southerners attending imaginative heights in a witty, precise observation of distinctive New World conditions. Author number 3, Aulauda Equano, 1745 1797. An early example of the slave narrative journal, Equana gives an account of his native land and the horrors and cruelties of his captivity and enslavement in the West Indies. Equana, who converted into the Christians, movedly laments his cruel, and Christians, treated by Christians, and sentiment many African Americans will voice in the centuries to come. The black American poet Jupiter Hum, a slave at Long Island, New York, is remembered for his religious poem as well as for an address to the Negroes of the state of New York, 1787, in which he advocated freeing children of slaves instead of condemning them to hereditary slavery. His poem, "An Evening Through", was the first poem published by a black male in America.